All right, welcome back to Podcast Recovery. We're your hosts, David O. and Eric V. Here at Podcast Recovery, we are a forerunner in digitally accessible addiction recovery support. We provide ease and convenience to any and all seeking a message of recovery and hope. By broadcasting the stories of recovering addicts, we act as a complement to all other recovery services. We exist to create a global foundation platform so that any addict may hear a message of strength and hope. We contribute education and awareness by highlighting the diversity in the lives of recovering addicts to show that one addict helping another truly works. Today we're joined by Paul P., a good friend of mine. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Very good. Where are you from?
I am from Westminster, Maryland.
Fantastic. When were you first introduced to recovery?
First introduced to recovery, I would say 1998, while my father was a member of a 12-step fellowship.
Mm-hmm. Nice. How long have you been clean?
I have been clean for almost 5 years.
Congratulations. That's awesome. And without any further ado, anything to add, Eric? No? Yeah? All right. Well, Paul P. will now be sharing his experience, strength, and hope with us, so I'm going to turn this over to him.
All right. Thank you. All right. So for me and my story of addiction, after being clean for some time now, I'm doing some work on myself. Like when I first got clean and was introduced to recovery, I thought I became an addict when I got bad on heroin.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I thought I became an addict.
Yeah.
Essentially January 2013. But after, obtaining some clean time and, truly doing some work on myself and like looking into myself, like I can see how this thing has gone way deeper than just the drugs. Like, I mean, in all honesty, like the earliest memories that I can remember are just memories and feelings of inadequacy,
mm-hmm.
Not being good enough,
mm-hmm.
just pretty much wanting to be someone other than myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always a very self-centered person. Everything always had to be my way. I actually remember like a trip we took to Disney. I was like 7 or 8 years old. And if I didn't get a toy at every place, I would throw the biggest like temper tantrum to the point where like just to get like my parents had shut me up, like they gave in. And on the way home, my sister's suitcases were combined into one, so that way they needed a full suitcase just to fit all the junk that they had to buy me during this 7-day vacation.
Wow.
So like if that's not an addict tendency of like I need what I need it now, I don't know what is.
One toy is too many and 1,000 is never enough.
Yeah, pretty much. That still may hold true today. They're just a little more expensive now.
Oh yeah.
So as I got older too, so I grew up in a household, mom and dad married. I had 3 sisters.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, I was first introduced to recovery through my father. So like growing up, my father was an addict himself.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, he was an addict, he was a workaholic. So between those two things and me being the only boy in the house, when my father was home, when he wasn't working, wasn't out partying, when like we actually got to see him,
mm-hmm.
most of his demons got taken out on me.
Yeah.
So I grew up like, fearing my father. Like I see all these, friends of mine with essentially what look like, normal like Beaver Cleaver families,
mm-hmm.
and like their dad was their baseball coach. They went to baseball games, football games, this, that, and the third. Like that wasn't the case for me. I absolutely like feared my father.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the fear of God was my father.
Yeah.
So like I grew up with, a lot of physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental, psychological abuse. So essentially like my whole life I was yearning for this male figure in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And like another issue I had, like I said, I grew up with 3 sisters. My mom, like I grew up being a huge mama's boy.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially I was raised by women.
Yep.
So like when I was around, my friends and peers and whatnot, like essentially I wasn't taught like, I guess how to be a male or a boy. So like a lot of my reactions and stuff were of how like my sisters would react to stuff. I was a very, so to say, feminine male, to the point where like I literally couldn't control those emotions. I couldn't contain them.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember where it was 6th grade, in 4th grade, I moved to Westminster.
Mm-hmm.
And
where did you live before?
Hampstead, same county.
Okay. Same area.
You know, so me and another kid, we moved at the very exact same time, and, you know, we hit it off, became best friends. And, like, literally, like, his parents became, like, a second set of parents to me. You know, his family became more of a family to me than, like, what my own family did. But another friend of ours told me that apparently his mom thought I was secretly gay because of how emotional I was. Mm-hmm. You know, and I didn't know anything different. You know, I just, like, that was me. So, like, that's where, like, I really first started to, like, stuff my feelings, stuff myself, because, you know, I grew up in a household of, you know, like, a very negative view on, you know, gays and whatnot. And, like, I didn't think I was, you know, but, like, that's the view I was taught. Like, people that are gay, they're going to hell, they're disgusting, this, that, and the third. So here's this person that think, like, because of the way I act, this person thinks I'm gay. So then I'm questioning myself and my sexuality. Yeah. You know, I don't want this to get back to, like, my family, you know. So that's where I first started, like, stuffing my emotions, stuffing my feelings. Yes. As a, you know, essentially self-defense. So as time went on, my best friend, you know, that second family to me, his older brother, became my older brother. You know, I never had any brothers. I only had sisters. So, like, I finally had, like, this family I wanted, because that's what it was. It was a second family, and I finally had this older brother. You know, he treated me like a little brother. You know, he taught me essentially how to stick up for myself, you know, or taught me how I should. I can't say that I actually did. You know, taught me how to fight. You know, taught me how to do things that, like, guys do. Yeah. And I remember, like, growing up with, like, seeing my dad in active addiction, like, seeing his, you know, my aunt and uncles and cousins in active addiction. Of course, you know, it was never going to be me. Yeah. It was never going to be me. And I do got to add in, like, you know, I once had someone ask me, like, what was my, you know, my first drug of choice, and they didn't say substance. So I really had to think about it. My first drug of choice was my imagination. Yeah. Because as a child, that was the only thing I knew, only way that I could escape reality, escape everything I was feeling. So, like, that was my drug of choice and my way to get out of myself up until the, like, 13 years old, when finally, like, all these years of saying, like, you know, I'm never going to smoke weed, I'm never going to do this, but the whole time I was waiting for the older brother, you know, we'll call him Steve. You know, Steve was a pothead. Yeah. And secretly, I was always waiting for Steve to be like, hey, Paul, you know, you want to smoke with me? Just waiting for that in. Yes, exactly. And the day finally came. Horrible experience. Such a horrible experience. Like, I literally thought I was going to die. Because, like, I went through the DARE program and just say no. I was taught that, like, drugs will kill you. Yeah. You know?
I love DARE. It was a very successful program.
Very,
it really was.
Very successful. So, obviously, I didn't just say no. Yeah. So we got high. I got stoned. And I literally thought I was overdosing.
Did you get high your first time?
Correction. So the first time we smoked the bowl and I didn't get high. I didn't.
I did. I got high the first time.
No. So the next day we hit his bong. And I got high. Yeah. And I literally, like, I legitimately thought I was gonna die. Like, I, like, went in his room and I'm like, dude, like, I think I'm ODing. And, like, he just starts laughing. I'm like, no, dude, it's not funny. Like, I'm being serious. And, like, I just go into this hysteria. Like, I'm 13 years old, stoned out of my mind. Like, I'm not even on earth anymore. Like, that's, like, I remember sitting in the computer chair and, like, just reality disconnecting. Yeah. So, like, I'm screaming, I'm crying. I'm like, you gotta take me to the hospital. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die. And they finally, like, get me calmed down. Like, you know, threw up on myself, pissed myself, you know. Wow. Yeah.
No trifecta? No trifecta? No, you didn't poop your pants?
No, didn't poop my pants.
Okay. I had to ask. Okay.
Understandable. So they finally get me calmed down. They threw me in the shower and they put me in bed where I passed out for like 4 hours. And when I wake up, like, right. I'm finally, like, back in Earth's atmosphere. And, like, you know, Chris was like, you know, so how'd you like it? And I'm like, dude, like, it's not, like, I I don't know how you and your friends do it, but like that's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So like the very next day, you know, Chris being the smart ass that he was, and obviously I messed up on Steve.
Yeah.
But he was like, you know, hey Paul, you wanna go take some bong hits? And like a normal person would be like, no dude, like I literally thought I was gonna die.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, let's do it. Because, like, to me, finally, like, you know, we were already close. He was already like a brother to me. And now this was something that was bringing us closer together. Mm-hmm. And it was something that, like, allowed me to escape myself that, you know, I didn't have to be, like, I guess essentially ashamed about.
Yeah.
So, like, that's where my, you know, my journey with, you know, drugs started. Mm-hmm. With smoking marijuana with, you know, this guy who was, like, my older brother. And he was 4 years older than me. And I ran with his crowd of people all throughout my teens, you know, 13, hang out with people that are 17, 18, 19 years old and doing every single thing that they did, you know, essentially skipping over my childhood because I saw these group of people that I wanted to be like, you know, because essentially they were the cool kids, they were the tough kids. You know, I grew up in a very abusive household where, like, if you even flinched at me, I was scared. So, like, my thought is like, I never have to be scared again as long as I'm hanging out with these guys, you know. So, for the longest time, you know, it stuck, you know, I only smoked weed, you know, and that's all I was ever going to do. You know, I didn't like drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and I sure as hell wasn't going to touch cocaine. I wasn't going to touch pills. I wasn't, you know, I was going to do heroin because, like, that's what junkies do. You know, I just like smoking some weed. What's wrong with that? And then, you know, at 17 is when, you know, I started experimenting with some other stuff.
Yep.
You know, tried cocaine for the first time, got introduced to some pills here and there. And for the longest time, you know, it was very innocent.
Yeah.
You know, very innocent. You know, maybe once a month, you know, I was smoking weed on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But like anything, what people would call the harder stuff, it was few and far between.
Yeah.
Few and far between. You know, so time progressed, and you know, I became older, and things became a little bit more frequent, and then as I got older, you know, my father did enter recovery, and that helped our relationship some. And when I was 20 years old, I had a very big, I guess, a lot of trauma happened to me. So essentially, my mom was running around with my father. My father found out about it. And, like, I knew about it before my father did. And I never said anything because, like, in my mind, I know the temper my father has. So if he ever finds out about it, like, he's gonna kill my mom. He's gonna kill the other dude, and he's gonna kill himself. Well, he found out about it, and on 2 separate occasions, he tried committing suicide. So, you know, this household, you know, my family dynamic that I grew up with is like my mom being my best friend, my savior, you know, my hero. Now she's like essentially betrayed me, I felt like.
Yeah.
So like my mom walked out of my life, I felt like, you know, the first time my father, like, you know, he shot himself, survived it. So, you know, me trying to, I guess, impress him, you know, because my whole life I just wanted my dad to be proud of me. Because in his eyes, you know, he would tell me, like, you're just a stupid boy. You know, you're a fuck up. You're not going to be anything.
Yep.
So at 20 years old, like, I took over his business. And as a way to be like, look, you know, let me do something to be proud of me for. And me and my father, you know, we developed this really good bond. We developed this friendship. And then he tried committing suicide again. You know, shot himself a second time. So like at that point, like my mom walked out of my life.
Yeah.
My older sister moved to South Carolina to get away from everything. My younger sister went with my mom. My oldest sister already had a family. So, like, you know, I felt so much abandonment from that. And then me and my dad finally had this relationship. And all of a sudden, what I felt like was I'm not important enough for him to want to live. So like then all of a sudden I got this kicker of like my dad abandoning me.
Yeah.
And like that's when things like really started like going downhill for me. You know, because I felt like everybody in my life abandoned me except the drugs.
Yeah.
Like the disease of addiction wrapped its arm around me and was like, "Don't worry, Paul, I got you. I'm here for you." You know, and at this point, let's see, for we'll call it 10 years, I had been stuffing my feelings. So I don't know how to convey feelings. I don't know how to talk about what's going on inside of me. The only thing I know how to do is use something to stuff it and to mask it. So at this point, I had turned 21. You know, I'm going to the bars every single night. You know, cocaine usage is up. Pill usage is up. You know, I'm selling drugs because to me, you know, it was a way to seek attention. You know, so like, you know, I was moving a lot of drugs, and in my eyes, like these people needed me. You know, my family didn't need me, but like these people needed me. You know, allowed it to fill this hole inside of me. You know, I was essentially like, I wasn't important enough for my family, but I was important for these people. So I was doing everything to just fill this hole inside of me created by this trauma, this family trauma. You know, and as time went on, man, it just like the surface stuff, like I was able to somehow I was able to keep it together. You know, like I would even have like family friends tell me like, you know, we're so proud of you. Like, you know, you didn't follow down the footpaths of like your family with like drug addiction, this, that, and the third. I'm like, oh, thanks. But like on the inside, it was like,
little did they know.
Little did they know. Like I'm halfway down that path. Like, you know, I'm almost at the end of that path. You know, so for the longest time, you know, call it functioning addict. You know, I had a job. You know, I didn't really have any bills, so I can't say I was paying bills. You know, all my money went to getting high or, you know, buying clothes, you know, spending money to make myself feel better. You know, anything to make me feel better about myself. Like that's where all the money was going. And then, you know, time went on. My mom and my dad, they, you know, made kosher of everything. In 2013, January, my father passed away. And, you know, that was pretty rough on me. And, like, that's when the heroin usage really started. You know, because it was like, I would go, I don't even say it was a binge. I would go through, like, a month or two period where like I would do it, you know, pills or cocaine, whatever it may be, on like a nightly basis. And then I kind of like back away from it, but still drinking every single day, still smoking every single day. But like at this point in my life, like I didn't have a job because, you know, I became self-entitled because I thought they should give me a raise or promote me. But like when they didn't, I showed up an hour late every single day. Like I would take off whenever I wanted to because like in my mind it was like, well, you know, you guys need me. You know, you need me. You're not going to fire me. You're not going to lay me off. And it happened. But at this point, like I didn't care. You know, I didn't have to report. You know, I didn't have to wake up at 5 o'clock every single morning. I could just sell drugs, do whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. I didn't have any repercussions of it. I wasn't getting any trouble. So still like just justifying. You know, so 2013, January, my father passed away, and it was like very hard on me. So at this point, like, just drugs, like everything.
It's kind of like fuck it at that point.
Just everything to just not feel the grief inside of me. And I remember, like, at one point, and, you know, it was probably 3-4 months after my father passed away, like, I remember, like, driving out into town because, like, you know, I got real high, you know, and I needed more, and I'm like, I'm driving, like, you know, I'm blitzed. And of course, it wasn't enough. Like, I always need more. Like, I remember, and like, I'm driving out of town, and I'm crying over this grief. And I literally remember thinking to myself, I'm like, why am I crying right now? Like, why do I feel this? Like, why am I feeling this? Like, does my brain not know how much drugs I just put into my system? Like, why am I, like, it was that point where, you know, you hear sometimes where the drugs just stop working. You know, they were still getting me high, so to say, but like it wasn't working to mask what was going on inside my head anymore. you know, and it didn't stop there. Like I just kept on using more and more and more because I was never told it was okay to feel these things. You know, not even like taught how to feel these. I was never told it was okay to feel these things. You know, I grew up in the household where like, oh, you better stop crying, or I'm going to give you something to cry about.
Oh yeah.
You know. So like, you know, fast forward a little bit, and like, you know, I got a DUI at this point. I got a couple of arrests. I'm driving around on, you know, two pullovers for a suspended license, and like I'm still doing all this insanity, knowing that not if I get pulled over again, but when I get pulled over, you know, because I always had crack on me, I always had heroin on me, I was always selling, you know, weed, knowing not if I get pulled over, but when I pull over, like it's all a bust. But like the insane, I couldn't stop. I didn't know I could stop.
Yeah.
That was the thing. Like I didn't know that I didn't have to live this way of life. So like the day finally happened. You know, I got pulled over, and I remember sitting on the tailgate of my truck, handcuffed while they're searching my truck. And I remember like the officer, he asked me if I had any weed on me, and I was like, yeah, I do. And he asked me if I had anything else. I was like, oh no, you know, nothing else in the truck. So like he handcuffs me and he's searching, and like he just like brings like the heroin and the crack out in front of me, and I was just like, yeah, that's mine. And like I remember like thinking to myself, like, when did I go to sleep and like wake up a junkie?
Ooh.
Like, because all my rationalizations were out the window. Because it was always like, well, I'm not getting arrested and I'm not spending time in jail like my cousin is. You know, I'm not robbing and cheating and stealing from people. Like I'm supporting my own habit, but like all of a sudden, like I'm sitting in handcuffs, being charged like with possession of heroin and possession of crack. Like that was never gonna be me. And like all of a sudden, like I'm trying to think, like, when did I go to bed and wake up a junkie?
Yeah.
Not realizing then, which I realize now, like it didn't happen overnight. It was a 12, 13 year long progression from the first time I smoked weed at 13 years old. You know, so like I go through the whole process of being arrested, and like I'm facing 15 years in prison, and scared to death.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely scared to death. Like, you know, I got a big stature. I'm 6'3", 250 pounds, but like the way I was raised and like what the disease of addiction tells me is like, you know, I still view myself as the little kid that like got beat by my father, that got beat by my sisters, that got bullied. So like I'm scared to death. Like I'm not built for prison, you know. So like the seed of recovery that was planted in 1998 came back 15 years later. You know, so like I got a court date. I don't have health insurance, so I can't go to rehab.
Yeah.
I don't have any money saved up because I've been using it on drugs, so I can't use my own money to go to rehab. And I know I got to do something for court. So all of a sudden I was like, well, you know, there's like a 12-step fellowship that I can go to. So like I had this brilliant genius plan. Like I'm going to, you know, go to these meetings. I'm going to get a piece of paper signed that like, you know, of everyone I go to, I'm going to go to the, you know, in front of the judge and like,
the nudge from the judge.
Yeah, you know, make it look good. I'll do some probation, you know, I'll have to stop for a while. But the great thing about that is like my tolerance will go down. You know?
Yep.
So then I can just go back to when it was fun, when I could just like smoke a blunt and like do a pill here and there. Like that was my master plan. That was my absolute master plan. And like I tell people all the time, like I didn't come to recovery to get clean. Like I really didn't. I came to recovery to like not go to prison.
Oh yeah.
And it was June 1st, 2013 at 8 o'clock in the morning. I went to my very first 12-step fellowship meeting. And I was scared to death walking in. I didn't know anybody in the program. You know, at this point, like I'm facing 15 years in prison. So I walk into like this, you know, this building that has this meeting, and this woman's like, "Oh, you know, you looking for the 12-step meeting?" And like I took so much offense to that. I'm like, do I look like I'm looking for this meeting? Mind you, like I probably hadn't showered in like 3 weeks.
You did look like that.
Yeah, like 170 pounds.
We all did.
Yeah. But like I humbled myself. I was like, yeah. So she like directs me to the room. Like as soon as I walk in, mind you, like when I was sitting in the parking lot, I saw these people getting out of cars, hugging each other, you know, and like the disease sitting on my shoulder, like, man, you don't belong here. Like, these people are hugging each other, like this, that, and the third. Like, they care about each, like, you do not belong here. But like, I still went in anyway. So like, when I walked in that room, I didn't know anybody in this room. Didn't know anybody in this room. But as soon as I walked in, I made eye contact with this person, and he just like stood up out of his chair so fast and came over and just gave me this huge hug that I was watching him give other people in the parking lot before I went in. And like, literally, like, that hug saved my life. Because like, at that point, like, I had to admit to myself, like, I'm a junkie, you know, and everything that society taught me about junkies is like, you're scum of earth. You know, like, you don't even deserve to be here. You know, you're a waste of air. So like, I had no self-esteem about myself. I had nothing good to say about myself. So the fact that this person didn't even know me and embrace me in this hug, and like, he didn't even have to say anything, but his hug let me know, like, I don't know you, but I care about you, and I want the best for you. And like, I remember I called my cousin afterwards, and I was like, dude, like, I found my home. You know, and initially, like, I didn't surrender completely at first. Like, you know, I was still smoking marijuana for a good, like, 3-4 months, going to meetings, and I honestly thought I was clean.
The marijuana maintenance.
Maintenance. Yeah. But, like, I legitimately thought I was clean. Because, like, you know, marijuana's, like, even though I thought I was overdosing the first time I smoked, like, no one's ever really overdosed and died from marijuana. No. So, like, I continued to smoke for a while, you know, and I go to meetings, I'd share, I bought all this literature, like, legitimately thought I was clean. And then, like, I finally did stop smoking, and, like, you know, all the fog started to clear. And, like, all of a sudden I'm getting this guilty conscience of, like, you know, you're saying you got this much amount of clean time, but, like, you've been smoking weed the whole time. And secretly, I knew, like, that I wasn't clean the whole time, but like, you know, on my shoulders, like, that disease is like, dude, you've worked so hard for the past like 3-4 months not doing coke, you know, coke, crack, or dope. Like, those people don't know what it's like. You know, you don't got to get honest about it. And it was really hard to, but like, I did, because like, I knew what I was getting from this program, and I wanted to give it to other people. But it was like, how am I going to honestly do that if I'm lying, if I'm living this lie? And I thought for sure, like, once I got honest, because I'm a mind reader. I don't know if you knew that, but I'm a mind reader. So I knew once I got honest, like, everyone's going to tell me, like, get out, don't come back, you're a liar, you know, how dare you? How dare you? But, like, the exact opposite happened. I got honest, and I was, like, embraced with the same amount of hugs. I was told, like, thank you for being honest. People after me got honest about their clean time. And, like, once I was able to, like, extinguish that last, like, little lie, that's where, like, the recovery journey really started.
Yeah, that's where it really takes off.
Yeah.
Real quick, was there, like, a level of, like, fear to, like, changing the clean date?
Oh, very, very much so. Very much so.
Like, a level of pride, and, like, because you got to get, there's a level of humility. You got to get humble at that point.
Right. You know, because, like, up until this point, like, you know, so many people, like, a lot of people didn't, you know, some people knew, like, he's not really clean, but other people, like, my, you know, because, like I said, I legitimately thought I was clean, so, like, I'm putting stuff on social media, like, oh, I've been clean for 90 days, this, that, so I got all these people that legitimately thought I was clean, that aren't seeing me on a day-to-day basis, so now it's like, I gotta tell them I'm a fucking liar. You know, but like, I knew in order to like continue to save my life, like, this is what I needed to do. So it was a very humbling experience, very, very humbling experience. And like, fortunately, I've been able to help people with that now, because like, that's part of my story. Like, look, you know, I had to change my clean date. I had to get honest and say that, like, I haven't been clean the whole time that I've been saying I was clean.
Yeah, and that takes a lot of courage.
Yeah, it was like, you know, essentially like the first step of like, besides walking into the meeting for the first time, that was, you know, that next bit of like showing that courage, you know. So that was almost 5 years ago when that happened. You know, it was, I think I got honest in like October, and I had like officially been clean for like 2 weeks at that point. You know, and since then, man, it's been a ride.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's been a journey. It's been good. It's been bad.
Yeah.
You know, the life of recovery, it's afforded me a great life, but it's afforded me how to like live life on life's terms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been through some very, you know, high times, and I've been through like the depths of like depression and darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like that's what recovery's done for me. It's taught me how like, you know, I can go through these dark times and make them through them clean.
Yeah.
You know, a little over a year ago, like I lost a child,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the hardest thing I've ever been through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was two unnatural causes. So, you know, without saying more than that, like it brought up a lot of abandonment issues again,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of betrayal issues,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of broken trust. And there was like a 6-month period where like I wanted to die. You know, like I truly wanted to die.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go into meetings and be like, you know, I don't feel safe leaving this meeting because like it wasn't just wanting to die. It was like I had made up my mind like I was going to kill myself.
Mm.
I just didn't know when.
Mm.
You know, I just didn't know when. But like I was taught from the very beginning, like if you're going through something, just raise your hand and let people know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and the instincts from like, you know, doing those foundational roots, building that foundation and digging those roots deep, like it wasn't even, it was second nature,
Mm-hmm.
essentially. And like the crazy thing is like the people that helped me the most through that weren't the people I was expecting.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, my core network group of friends, they were there for me, but like the people that had that experience,
Mm-hmm.
that have been through those kind of things, like wasn't the people I was expecting.
Mm-hmm.
And those people would have never been able to help me unless I like opened my mouth and like raised my hand and like, look, man, like I'm really struggling right now. Like I need help right now.
Mm-hmm.
I need it right now. And I had to do that for 6 months, you know, 6 months on end, you know, and seeking outside help and like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it like day to day, like going through like, you know, like I think I might go home today and just finally do it.
Mm.
But like, you know, I would call like my sponsor or like a friend after work and be like, look, man, this is what's going on in my head right now. But like, and just by getting that out,
Mm-hmm.
saying it out loud, it like put it off. It gave me a little bit of a reprieve, whether it was for an hour.
Yeah.
You know, and slowly, and I didn't notice it when I was happening, but like things started to get better.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where like I woke up one day and it was like, you know, like I feel pretty good today.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I feel pretty good. And now like making it to the other side, like making it through that dark tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Like I couldn't even see the light at the end of the tunnel. I couldn't even see the tunnel. I didn't even know I was in a tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
It was just black
Mm-hmm.
around me. And like making it out of that blackness and that darkness and like being able to like share that experience with people now is just like, I guess so to say, it makes it worth it.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like that was the worst pain I've ever been through in my whole entire life. But like the fact that like I've been able to use that pain to help other people now that
Mm-hmm.
are going through it, man, it's like, how can I say I wish it never happened?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I don't, you know, not to be egotistical, I might have saved someone's life with my experience, strength, and hope. I don't know. But like I have that to, you know, help someone else with now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and where I'm at now, you know, I'm coming up on 5 years clean. And life's finally starting to come together for me.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, when they get clean, like they get things back instantly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, cars, jobs, family. Like
Yeah.
that wasn't my case. That wasn't my case whatsoever. 2 days ago, like I just bought my first car with no cosigner.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been like working so hard for the past 3 years of
Yeah.
like being a functioning adult, like paying my bills on time, you know, building my credit up.
Mm-hmm.
And like to general society, it's like, all right, cool, that's what you should have been doing a long time ago.
Yeah.
But like to me, like it's only because of recovery I was able to do that.
Yeah.
You know, it's only through recovery that like I can wake up every day and go to work and not be, you know, egotistical. Like, well, I'm just gonna call out today. Like they're not gonna get rid of me. You know, so like everything I've been through, it's like I'm gonna have bad days. I'm gonna have horrible days. I'm gonna have great days. You know, it's like the old saying, "This too shall pass." The good times and the bad times. You know, and it's all part of the journey. You know, that 6 month darkness makes me appreciate life so much now. You know, and within this 5 years clean, like I still think about getting high. I still do. You know, whether it be on a daily basis. Sometimes I still obsess about it. I'm an addict. You know, I still have drug dreams.
Yep.
But like I play that tape.
Oh yeah.
You know, like I'll put myself back in that day in 2013, sitting in my tailgate. You know, I'll put myself through the past 5 years of what I've had to do to get to where I'm at now. It's like, is getting high for an hour, if that, worth throwing away 5 years of, you know, accomplishments and work and progression and whatnot? Absolutely not. You know, and not even that, it's like, you know, the bonds that I've built in this process, man, it's like, that's what keeps me in. That's what keeps me in here. Like, you know, my best friend and like, you know, my sponsor in this program, like asked me to be the godfather of his child. You know, like that wouldn't have happened if I was getting high.
Yeah.
That it wouldn't have happened when, like, you know, that like to be given that honor as a human being. It's indescribable. So like that's the kind of stuff that like keeps me going. Like, it's just not worth it to me. It's just not worth it to me.
Yeah, at some point in like my recovery, getting high or getting drunk, like it just stopped making sense.
Right.
Like it just didn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is an amazing journey, and like what we have to go through in order to get where we are. It kind of sucks that we can only see it retrospectively. Like it's hard to like appreciate it in the moment. Like you notice it like when it's like 5 days ago, you're like, oh wow, I did that. Like 10 years ago, I wouldn't have imagined being able to do that.
Right.
But yeah, like just getting up to that point it's a series of moments. I don't know. Anything else for us?
I mean, not really. That pretty much brings me up to where I'm at in life right now.
Yeah.
You know, life's busy only because of...
It gets full.
It does. It's funny because I tell people all the time, like, enjoy first year recovery.
Oh, yeah.
Like, all you got to worry about is just, like, making it to a meeting every day. Like, I wish at this point now, like, that was my only worry.
Yeah.
Just I got to go to a meeting today. Like, I love my life now, and I love my full plate. Like, I can't complain about it because, like, I asked to eat.
Oh, yeah.
So how am I going to complain about a full plate when I wanted to eat? Yeah. But it's like, man, first year recovery of, like, going to this meeting, meeting, and just like road dogging it with all your boys until 4 o'clock in the morning and sleeping in because like you don't got a job. You're like just worried about getting to a meeting. Yeah. Like I miss that so much.
Chain smoking cigarettes, drinking energy drinks.
So many Red Bulls.
Just a different type of running.
Right. Exactly.
My first year of recovery, I definitely had a problem with Red Bulls. Like. It became a problem. Like it was almost like using because I would call it getting weird, and I would like drink.
That would be called using.
That would technically be called. I was using Red Bulls.
I named it.
I was like, let's get weird, and we would drink like 30 ounces or like 40 ounces of Red Bull in a night, and just smoke cigarettes till our teeth were yellow.
I mean, I knew people who would drink like 20 shots of espresso in a day, and they were like.
I remember you double fisting like Red Bull and coffee in each hand.
Why not?
Like,
you know, fresh, clean.
Oh, it was great.
That's the way that you do it.
Yeah, it was awesome.
And now it's like I can't have coffee after 5.
Right. Like I gotta be in bed at night.
Yeah, it's like I have stuff to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like I need to make sure that
working 5 or 6 days a week is oh my god. It's unbelievable. It really is. Like I never would have thought inactive addiction that I would get to this point.
Oh, no.
And
No. Inactive addiction, like I had these, call them dreams. Call them dreams and aspirations, but I don't even know if I would call them that. They were pipe dreams, so to say.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't doing anything to work towards.
No.
I was talking a good game of like, oh yeah, one day I'm going to do this, and this is what I want to do with my life. But it was simple lip service.
Yeah. None of them were like all of mine anyway were like delusions of grandeur. Like there were like points where I like genuinely thought I was gonna like hit it big and like tour the country and tour the world.
Right.
Like I was in a crappy band and like
Don't call your band crappy.
it was terrible. We were bad.
Right. I mean, my hopes and dreams, aspirations was just to be like, I guess a cross country drug kingpin.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted to do with myself. It's like I'm gonna be a kingpin.
You're gonna be
eventually.
Scarface.
Yeah, it's like the movie Savages. I was like, that's gonna be me.
Yeah, but we like look at all like the cool parts of Scarface. How like he owned a tiger and
Right.
like he had this awesome wife for like 5 minutes.
Ignore the part that he got shot at the end.
Yeah,
of his back.
he gets blown away by a bunch of Cubans at
Right.
the end. Like we didn't play that tape all the way through. We sort of just stopped at like the push it to the limit montage.
yeah.
You're just like, yeah, I want a montage. I just want a drug montage.
Right.
A mountain of cocaine. Nothing. Not like. And nowadays, like my girlfriend's not in recovery, and like last Black Friday we were going like area rug shopping, and I was like so into it. I was like, oh my god, I love area rugs, and like I had to like stop in the middle of like Target and think. I was like, how I used to do a lot of drugs, and now I'm like super stoked about buying a rug for my apartment.
Dude, that's how I bought a shower caddy like 2 months ago. I'm in Bed Bath and Beyond. Like, where's your shower caddies at? Like, I don't like that one. I need like the full like 3-tier one.
Yeah, like doing adult things. Like sometimes I get to like actually like reflect in the moment and be like super grateful for those simple little things of like that everybody else like kind of takes for granted,
Right.
and I kind of feel bad for them because I'm like, you don't know how awesome rugs are.
Yeah.
I have such an appreciation for rugs because I used to live in a car. Like,
Yeah.
I was a bum living in a Pontiac Vibe, and now I'm not, and I can buy area rugs and hang stuff on the walls. That's like the beyond your wildest dreams that we hear about, like that. I don't know. I never really understood.
Right.
But yeah, recovery is an amazing journey. I don't know. You got any questions for?
I do
our
have a
speaker?
few questions.
All right.
A few questions.
Fire away.
So your father was he an active member of recovery?
He was for about 10 years.
So for 10 years, so I've always wondered this. Is having, like, your father being in recovery, did that stall you at all into entering recovery yourself out of, say, pride?
I think it did, because I remember one night, I was going through a very big drinking phase.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember, like, I was tearing my motorcycle apart, and, like, I tipped the bottle back, and that was empty. So I reached for another beer, and, like, that was empty. And I was like, well, maybe I'm an alcoholic. Maybe I have an issue. And it was like, no, like, you know, like I said, me and my father always had a rocky relationship, and I was never going to be like him.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, no, I don't have a problem because I'm not like my dad. So, like, I would say, like, it did stall it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I've always wondered that, especially with, like, kids who have, you know...
And truthfully, I never realized until you just asked that question.
Yeah.
You know, I never really looked at it that way.
It's kind of like comparing out almost.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Very much so.
Because, I mean, myself, I strive to be, as like, different from certain family members or, you know, parents,
Right.
sisters, like, whatever, as possible. Or, I mean, it naturally happens, too, but at the same time, I'm like, oh, you're doing that? Well... I don't want to do that. Or when someone orders the same thing at a restaurant, you're like, you know what, that crab cake looks good. I'm going to get that. And they're like, you know what, that does look good. And it's like, fuck you. Like, that was my meal.
My fucking crab cake.
Right.
You know?
Now I gotta get chicken tenders.
Yeah.
That's why I'm the last person to order. I'm like, what are you getting? What are you getting? I'm not going to have what they're at.
Right.
It's like, guys, we can share. Okay, cool. And I have, like, a few other ones. Okay. So you mentioned depression, and that's something that I've suffered with a lot of mental illness issues as well. I went to treatment for it. What other methods do you use besides 12-step?
So a big part of, I guess, essentially what allowed me to get a spark back in life last year, because I needed to find something to live for. So like I was doing therapy, just regular like psychotherapy, and then I also did like a specialty. It's called like EMDR.
Ooh,
like
EMDR is great.
Yeah, so I started doing that. That definitely did help. But what helped a lot is like I just had to find something that made me happy.
Yeah.
Because I was at a point in my life where I was like, I don't care if I live or I die, so I'm just gonna do what I want anyway. In the most healthiest aspect that I could without like self-destructing. Like I don't care if I die, so I'm just gonna go get high. Like I still wanted to live, I still want to get clean or at least stay clean. So like music became like live music.
Yeah.
Like I remember like one of my favorite bands was playing up in Philly, and I'm like, hey, you want to go? Oh, I can't. Hey, you want to go? I can't. All right, I'm just gonna go by myself then. So like that year, like I went to so many concerts, and about half of them were by myself.
Really?
And it was just such a therapeutic way of just like being able to relate to the music and stepping outside that comfort zone.
Yeah.
Of like going to a brand new city by myself to a venue surrounded by thousands of people that I don't know, and be able to just be there by myself because like I enjoy this representation of art that's happening on stage.
I would have a panic attack in that situation that you just described.
Oh no,
I would be terrified by myself around thousands of people in a crowd. That's like my worst fear. That's cool. And EMDR, really, I'm happy you brought that up.
Real quick before. Well, what our listeners don't know is that Paul and I are also a little bit of road dogs when it comes to the music scene.
Very much so.
Music has always been like a huge catharsis for me, 100%. Like it is that release. Me and Paul are metalheads. We have traveled to a shout out to Slipknot. They've been a huge part of my recovery as well. Like
very much. Slipknot in this moment.
Oh yeah, and
Slipknot's a huge part of your recovery. I'm gonna leave it.
Yeah, hold on. Let me hear me out. Because Slipknot was also a huge part of my using.
Yeah.
Very much.
Music was a huge part of my using, and I would go to these festivals and I'd be trashed. And like honestly, I don't have a lot of great memories of fucked up festivals. Like I just don't. And now I got to re-experience a lot of these bands in recovery, staying clean. And now I have these memories with Paul and a whole bunch of other friends getting to like dance and mosh and like get out this energy. Because it is sort of like a form of using in a sense that I'm getting that adrenaline, I'm getting that norepinephrine, that like all those really happy chemicals, that dopamine in our brain that like it's triggered by drugs like that. Right. Those drugs are like they're chemicals, but now I get to like naturally experience these highs with people that I love, and it's amazing that I get to connect through music with. I mean, that's how we became friends.
It was
like
Slipknot of what 2015.
Well, it started on like social media.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, this dude likes Slipknot. Like he keeps liking my Slipknot posts, so I'm gonna like his Slipknot posts. So then it just grew from there, and then it was like the Dope Fiend Olympics, which was at an event, and I was like, oh, this dude's awesome. I know this guy through Facebook, and then like it just took off. It blossomed from there. Yeah, and it's been an amazing journey. Yeah, fucking right, dude. So that's my music thing.
Okay.
Moving on.
Cool.
Thank you, Slipknot.
All right, so 3 more questions.
All right.
Oh wow.
Biggest accomplishment in the past 5 years?
Biggest accomplishment in the past 5 years.
It doesn't have to be recovery related. It can be life related.
Oh. Can I answer this too?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh God. Fuck. Biggest accomplishment. I'm gonna go with 2. I'm gonna go 2 for. 1 was finally getting my own apartment, like my own home, and like building a home for myself. And then number 2 was graduating culinary school, top of my class.
Nice.
That was a huge accomplishment for me, and something it's changed my life. I've been in that field for the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that changed my life.
Sure. I mean, that's a tough question because there's been so many accomplishments.
I know.
I mean, just buying a new car, or new to me, was used, but like on my own has been a huge accomplishment for me. Because like I said, for the past 3 years, I've literally worked so hard to get to this point of like not needing a cosigner, getting a pretty decent interest rate. Like, you know, taking, like pretty much paying to play.
Yeah.
Like taking out high interest, low amount loans, high interest, low limit credit cards, making sure I pay every single bill on time, you know, not applying for anything unless I know I'm going to get approved. So I'm going to say that. And then biggest getting through that depression. Because like, I mean, it was something I literally had. It was like, it's like getting and staying clean. It's something I had to do. There was no magic cure for it.
Yeah.
It was like waking up every day and deciding like, I'm gonna stay alive today.
Yeah.
And holding on long enough to get through it all. So I have to say, like, that's my biggest accomplishment in the past 5 years, because if it wasn't for that accomplishment, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
Yeah. Okay, this will actually be the last question.
Okay.
Kind of like lighten the mood. Now, I've heard this term a lot, and I want to understand where its origins are from. This, that, and the third. Where does that come from? I've been wondering this for a really long time.
Can I ask?
I hear it in Montgomery County. I hear it in D.C. You don't hear it in Baltimore too much.
This, that, and the
But
third.
you hear it in different areas that you go around where you'll hear like this, that, and the third. And my wife will say this, that, and the third sometimes. And then like, but I don't hear any of our friends say this, that, and the third, like our group of friends.
No. And honestly, I didn't hear it until I came to recovery. It was not...
I don't know, because I've always kind of heard it growing up in like Carroll County.
I
Yeah.
don't know. Is it a...
I don't know.
But I hear it from like Montgomery County. You guys are neighbors, Montgomery and
Right.
Carroll. So maybe it went from like DC to Montgomery to Carroll and like skipped.
Like, I kind of want to like Google it now.
This, that,
Like
and
origins.
the third. Wow.
Now you're going to have me like think about every time I say it.
Yeah. Well, euphemisms are all... They're very regional. But I don't know.
Man.
Fuck.
Right, you might have kind of ruined that for me now.
Yeah, you stumped it. Yeah, and you're just gonna think about this, that, and the third. Wait a minute, what the fuck?
Right, where did that come from?
Yeah, what is this? What
Right,
is
was
that?
that? What's the
Okay.
third?
And what's the third?
So do you guys remember Fug? Did anyone?
Yeah,
Vaguely.
Like, can I get Fug?
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
You remember that,
Fuck, yeah,
right? Okay, so like you're in Howard County.
yeah.
So you guys also had Jacks though.
I mean,
Right?
I heard both.
Yeah, we didn't have Jacks.
You didn't have Jacks.
We didn't have Jacks.
Like the cigarette brand Jacks?
No.
No, not those are disgusting. By the way, I know what you're talking about. No, like Jack is a cigarette.
Yeah, I never heard that term.
See, yeah, but like I went to HCC, so everyone would be like, "Can I get a Jack?" And then when I would be like, "Can I get a Fug?" People would be like, "What the fuck is a Fug?"
See, I heard both. Like, I don't know. It was weird.
Have you ever heard the term luncheon? Like you're lunching.
Yeah, you're fucking lunching. Yeah, that's
What is it?
Yeah,
You're lunching, like you're acting crazy.
you're lunching. You're bugging.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
We had Kirk,
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, Kirk out.
Yeah, you're kirking.
Kirking.
Yeah, hell yeah. But
which
That
could mean
Kirk
that you're
out.
going crazy or you're passing out. So we
I
had,
just always heard it as
see,
like crazy.
yeah, I just.
oh no,
it's
it was like
crazy.
he's straight Kirked, like he's passed out. We
Oh,
used it in that way as
no.
well.
No. Well, like that was sort of like a regional thing as well. Like when we were smoking a bowl, we had there was the shotgun,
Yeah,
right?
shotgun.
Yeah, but then some people, I didn't hear this until this kid came from California. We were fucking smoking a bowl, and he was like, "Yo, let go of the carb." And
Yeah,
I was
I'll
like,
say carb or the rush
Car.
hole.
Oh yeah, car.
"The what?
Rush hole.
The rush hole?"
Yeah, I've never heard of shotgun. To me, shotgun is like with the blunt.
No, see, on the bowl, like the hole was
Yeah,
the
rush
shotgun.
hole. I would
Rush
call it
hole.
the rush
That
hole.
sounds like
Rush
a
hole.
very dirty sexual act.
Yeah,
It does.
The rush hole.
I've never heard of the rush
No.
hole. That's a first for me.
Rush to that hole.
Yeah, so he was like, "Oh, let go of the carb, dude." Look, I was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I was like,
I've
"The
heard
shotgun?"
carb.
I've heard
but
now.
yeah.
Like, it wasn't until like when I was like, I don't know, 13 or 14, and this kid came from California, with totally different.
He must have been the coolest kid at 13 or 14.
Dude, he was. He was.
I mean, from California.
You know what I mean? It's like,
I bet he knew how to surf.
Cali.
But like, dude, fucking crazy. He's gone. He's not with us anymore. At age 19, he fucking died of bone cancer.
Damn.
Yeah. Kind of sad.
That's
I'm sorry. I just took
why
that. I
did
just
you-
took the.
Okay, on that note,
I took the happy note. And I made this.
Yeah.
On
We
that
got a
note,
fun
question.
I think we're done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final words? Any last words?
No, not on my end.
Thank you for listening, everybody. Paul, I thought you did a great job. Thank you for joining
Thanks
us.
for having me out.
All right. Well, we would like to thank Paul P. for joining us today. And here at Podcast Recovery, we're aiming to expand the scope of support for recovering addicts. Accessibility and convenience of helpful service is paramount to combating addiction. We work to bring the message of recovery to every addict, wherever and whenever it is needed. We believe that a powerful voice of recovery should be obtainable, practical, and at the touch of a button. Every addict deserves to hear a message of hope, and Podcast Recovery is here to provide it. So again, we'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. Please follow us on Twitter, like us on Facebook, check us out on our website, podcastrecovery.com.
Yes.
We have been your hosts, David O. and Eric V., and we'd like to thank Paul P. one last time. And we'll tune in next week. Thanks very much, guys.